What is good? What is good? What is good, everyone? Davin Wickstrom here with Vivro and Foodservice Unfiltered, doing our podcast for the month, which I'm so excited about. So this podcast, for those that haven't listened before, really gives you a glimpse into what's behind the stories of the people I interview. Really interested in how they got to where they are in life and the roles and inspiration that got them there. How do we get there? Absolutely no idea. And that is the beauty and the joy of it. Before we bring our guests on, hope everyone has recovered from the restaurant show this past weekend. It was absolutely a fabulous week. I was talking to my good friend Rob Gephardt this week and this morning rather, and I think I saw him twice briefly, and that's how busy it was. Rob's a great friend, and normally I'd see him a lot, but as we all know, the restaurant show is very busy. Highlights for sure were the Gold and Silver Plate Awards, Dealer of the Year Awards, the Steel Light Party, the Red Bull Party, and of course, I would be remiss if we didn't highlight the Vivro Party. Oh, and I forgot the SHFM breakfast to honor our military men and women was absolute blast as well. So hope everyone got everything they needed out of that week. For those I was able to see, it's great to see you. Looking forward to seeing you again. Let's get to our guest. So this guest, I am not waxing poetic when this man said, yes, I want to be your guest. I was so incredibly excited about that. I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to talk about him. So I can already hear his eyes rolling. So said guest, I'm going to talk about you a little bit. So my first guest is Tony Butler with FSA. Tony is many things to many people. I'm reading my notes. He's a friend, a mentor, keeper of communal food service history and insights. He is the guiding light of SHFM, the Bourbon Classic. He is wise, kind, funny, practical, and one of the best humans that I have ever met. And I'm blessed to call him friend. As I mentioned, Tony, his day job is working for FSA Management Group, LLC, managing such groups as the Bourbon Classic, BootCamp, and of course, SHFM. And Tony has also been involved with many, many pivotal moments within the food service industry. Tony, welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Make me sound real old.
You've just been around. And Tony, you don't age. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony's actually 97 years old, but he doesn't look at that. Tony is not that old. Yeah, really excited to have you on today, Tony.
I'm happy to be here.
So I figured we'd just start, talk to me where you are right today. Your role as president of FSA. Like, what is FSA and how is that involved? And just give me an overview, et cetera.
Well, FSA was founded by two gentlemen, Philip Cook and Daniel May in 1969, believe it or not. Moved to Louisville in, 1979 or so from Chicago. They chose Louisville because they wanted a slower pace and, ran the company for a number of years, started as a PR company and evolved into association management. Philip was very involved in the consolidation of the two associations that formed SHFM and was their first executive director. And so they ran the company for many years. Then a publishing company in New York City bought the company from them. LeVar Freeman, who owned Nation's Restaurant News at one point. And then I bought it from them. So I've been here for 26 years and have owned the company for 18 years.
Tony, that's a long run.
It is. I'm waiting for my gold watch.
I think it's going to be a gold chariot, Tony, given how much you've given. I know I can count on Shane Varnum and Damian Monticello and Gordon and myself. Like, I think we'll all carry it around. So for those that don't know, Tony, as it relates to FSA, what does a management company do for an association? Let's just say for SHFM.
So we serve as the headquarters for SHFM. We provide the staff. So we do everything pretty much soup to nuts for the association, anything from membership, accounting, marketing, the website, the events, which is a very large part of what we do. So anything that is needing to be done for the association, we do.
Very good. And is it just you? I already know this answer, but like, do you have a team? Do you have a team of people that support you and work with you? And any shout outs you want to give to said people that you and I both know very well?
Well, no, it's just me, but couldn't possibly do this by myself. We have a great team, some of which the folks at SHFM know. Julie Menick, who is very involved in events. Sarah Colsey, who's also involved in events. Michelle Romero, who is on the sponsorship side and works with a lot of our suppliers. And then Natalie Ditas, who is on membership. I'm sure I'm probably going to leave someone out, but some of the folks that are in the kind of the back office, Michelle Kessinger runs our finance. Megan Hunt is our creative director. So there's just a lot of folks who are working on SHFM kind of in front of the scenes and behind.
And Tony, an association is what it is as far as whether it's corporate dining or healthcare or, K through 12. I'm convinced because I live in this world that the key to success beyond the association is a strong management group, if there is one involved. And you absolutely have a team that is, they're strong and they're supportive and they're human. And it adds into what we have at SHFM.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, SHFM has been our client for over 40 years. So we have a very long history.
Wow. So that's safe to say then Jesus Christ probably was your first client. Like that's how long you've been involved, Tony?
A little bit. I didn't found the company, but I came along not so long after.
Good. So over those years, Tony, you're 26 years. And I'm gonna ask you a question here, and then we'll take the way back machine. Do you have a leadership style that you adhere to or that you lean into that says, this is how I lead people, or this is how I want things to go? Do you have a certain style?
Well, I think I look at it this way. I don't ask folks to do anything that I wouldn't do. That's kind of rule number one. We work as a team here. So if something needs to be done, anyone on our team will jump in to do it. And that's kind of the culture of our company. And that's been the culture of our company since before I even came along. But that's what we do here. We just roll up our sleeves and get stuff done.
You do. And it absolutely comes across, through the years. I'm sure anyone who's worked with you, people oftentimes will say, Tony, I want to do this. And oh gosh, I could see your face. Like you could see the hamster going, okay, is this going to work? Are we liable? Like, am I supporting? But you always work to make the experience better for everyone, for sure.
Well, and that's really our role. We want to make sure that, it's seamless for our members and that, we're providing a very, very high level of service, which is incredibly important to me. And that's another value of our company. We service at a level we don't say no very well. And sometimes maybe we should,
Right.
But we don't do that very well.
And that's okay. We appreciate you say yes more than you say no, Tony. I do remember when we launched the Foundation Gala. It was a little bit out there, and I read your face while you're like, I'm not sure, but we were able to have a business case, and you're like, oh gosh, this actually could work for us, and glad you said yes there.
Well, things kind of evolved especially with the gala, and another program that I was not super keen on in the beginning was the Rising Star program, and boy, I couldn't have been more wrong about that, because that really has been hugely successful. We just launched our 11th year with that program at SHFM. And it really has changed the demographic of the organization, and not just, old gray-haired guys like me. We have a younger generation coming in with brand loyalty to SHFM, and that program is really what made that happen.
And why would you say in the earliest days was there pause from your end?
I wasn't sure we could afford it, frankly. And so, I'm always watching the dollars, and
Sure.
everybody gives me a hard time about that, but I'm watching the dollars. I wasn't sure we could afford it. And, and now it's an essential part of the budget. It just has to be.
Yeah. And really, you can just even shine a light on, Raquel or Jenna, young professionals that went through the program that are now, presidents, past presidents, positions of leadership, Rob Yayak, people that ascended, if
Committee
you will.
chairs. I mean, all sorts of folks who are in that young professional community or have been, maybe recently exited, are a part of our leadership team now at SHFM, and it really has evolved the association. It's terrific.
And would you say that is then maybe it's a training grade? Why is it successful, and why do you believe that the pipeline is actually working?
Well, in the beginning, it was kind of a membership development tool to get younger members into the association. And that worked like gangbusters. About 25% of the membership, 20% of the membership, something like that, are young professionals at this point. And so it really, our attitude is that we wanted to hear from the younger folks to see what we could do better as an association. And so the association evolved with that input. And as we got that input and the young professionals started stepping into committee leadership, into the board leadership roles and things like that, we just evolved, and we do things quite a bit differently than we used to. Although I did find out that the young professionals don't view things all that differently from us. We think that they do, but in essence, they still value the things that kind of us older folks value as well.
Us more mature people in the industry.
Yes.
Well, I think it's fitting too. Lauren Beckwith, our good friend, she's grateful, and she's leading our young professionals. She's a great example of, you kind of find those people who you could say, okay, here's a pipeline of talent, somebody's engaged, leaning in, et cetera. And,
yeah, truly rising stars. I mean, the title couldn't be more appropriate.
Yep, I agree. Well, we'll get back to the rising stars in SHFM. Tony, I'm super interested to understand your history of hospitality. Like, how did you end up to right here, right now with me? And you can go as far back as you want.
Well, my first job, I'll skip a few years, but my first job, I was a car hop at a Frisch's restaurant. So I started in the hospitality world at 16 years old, serving milkshakes and hanging them on the side of windows of cars. If anybody's old enough to remember that, no roller skates though. But that was my first job. So the first job was in the hospitality industry. And over the years, through college and first jobs and marketing, I thought I was going to be in the advertising agency world, and, kind of evolved, went to work for the local arts center here, ended up at an arena, eventually ended up running that arena for 9 years and doing events, and got into the event side of things, and then came to FSA. I haven't had a lot of jobs really over the years. I tend to stay where I'm put, I guess. But that's kind of how I got here. And my first client coming to SHFM was not SHFM, excuse me, FSA was SHFM, and I was the executive director. I've been the executive director twice, so had to do it twice to get it right, I guess. But so that's how I ended up here. That's the short version of that.
Have you always had the hospitality bug, Tony? Or is that something you learned along the way?
I think I learned it along the way. I mean, I think it's part of, just that service mentality and the things that we do. That's such a part of hospitality. And, association management is what I like to think of as we're in the connection business. And I think it's the same thing as hospitality. You're in the connection business. So it really is related in ways that, everyday ways, everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys do a great job. I'm just going to stick on your early years. Is there anything you learned from being I still picture you on, I'm going to add roller skates to you putting lunch. I'm going to add That, but is there anything you learned early on at that first job at Frisch's, which I've been to, by the way, that you may apply to business today or relationships today or early jobs?
The first thing that comes to my mind is I spilled a strawberry milkshake inside a woman's brand new Cadillac. And, 16-year-old kid scared to death of having done something like that. The woman could not have been more gracious. So I think it's like learning that, you learn from your mistakes, number one, but, there's also the people can be gracious and mistakes can be forgiven. And so I think that's something that stuck with me from that job. I will never forget doing that. It was terrible, but the woman could not have been nicer about it, in her brand new car, which I always felt terrible about.
So it's not really what happens to you. It's how do you respond, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent,
Yeah, I mean, I went back inside and got stuff and scrubbed her car out. It's just like, thankfully the car was red on the inside, so that helps. So.
Yeah, thank God you didn't have a chocolate shake,
Exactly.
Tony, so you're not alone. I was working in college. Cap Weinberger, who worked under Reagan, was speaking at an event, and I was really just cleaning. I was a busboy, and I had a whatever they're called, the little things you put the drinks on. I should know what the name of that is. A tray, yeah. First time in the English language, I dumped a whole tray of iced tea on the back of a young man while Cap Weinberger was talking, and flipped the tray up and exited the room. And my boss at the time just brought me back in and said, "It's okay." But to your point, it's how you respond.
Yeah, 100%. And I waited tables in college, so I have a long, illustrious hospitality career. So
I love that. Talking about kind of the history, and SHFM is what a lot of people, you're well known in the industry, and you've worked with a lot of presidents and people in leadership positions throughout. Is there an underlying theme or themes that make leaders successful? Like, do you see something that is just true, always true?
I think it's hard work. I think people who are willing to work hard, you get results. Sometimes, people are super talented in whatever they do, and maybe it comes easier to them. But I think in the end, it's the hard work that matters. And you may not be the most talented in whatever it is that you're particularly doing at that moment, but it's the hard work that makes the difference. And anybody that I have ever seen that's been successful has done that. And also, I think of my board chair from when I worked at the arena, and it's taking chances. That's why I bought this company. It's like I heard him in the back of my head saying, "Oh, I never did anything that wasn't worthwhile when I took the chance." And I thought, well, could be the best thing that could happen, could be the worst thing. So, but taking the chance also, I think, matters.
Meaning you could have sat on the sidelines and said, "Gosh, I wonder what that would be like," instead of us buying the company, really, right? Like, or owning the company, if you will.
Yeah. I don't know what would have happened to FSA, but, we're still here, we, 1969, however many years that is. It's a long
56,
time.
56 years.
56 years. Thank you. Can't do math today.
No, it's okay. So talking about that journey, are there moments throughout, and I've known you, gosh, probably going on 10 years. You can go in the Wayback Machine during the Barb Kane years, or
I won't tell her you said that.
Well, I saw her this weekend, and I was nice to her, and she's nice to me, and she knows I love her, and she's my mentor. Are there any fond memories of events or how you saw our community get together? And, a couple that really stick out, like, oh gosh, like, I'm glad I'm here, or this is why I'm here, or this is important.
I wouldn't call it a fond memory, but one of the things that's really very memorable to me is the 9/11 period, and being in the office, and Kent Bain was our president at the time. This is obviously a long time ago, and talking on the phone with him when, the second plane hit the second tower, and he was at Goldman Sachs at the time, which is right down there where all that was happening. And it was really memorable, not so much in a good way, but it was very memorable. And once you step past the actual events of that and the way that SHFM reacted to that, we had member companies who lost people and things like that. It was a really very traumatic time, but the industry kind of pulled itself together. Bob Whitcomb's company fed the folks at Ground Zero. I mean, it's just a lot of things that I think our industry can be particularly proud of around those events. And, we created the Critical Issues Conference from that. There's just a lot of things that are incredibly memorable about those sorts of things. And there's a million things like that. Better memories, the 25th anniversary when Ron was the president and did the weightlifting, challenge to raise money. I mean, there's things like that are just a million memories over the years from SHFM.
Yeah, it goes back to the analogy of the strawberry shake. It's like good things come out of it. I'm not relating 9/11 to a strawberry shake. Let me say that for the record. And like out of, like American trauma, like Critical Issues was born, and people stepped in. And I'm sure you have multiple stories of Rick Post and during those years and what they did on the Compass side.
And all of those folks, really, everyone in New York really stepped up to help.
Yeah. And that, to me, Tony, that's a microcosm, of our community, if you will.
Yeah. It's kind of the secret sauce of SHFM. There is a culture within SHFM that is unique among associations, even in the food service space, I would say. And I don't know what created that culture, but it has existed for a very long time and still exists today.
Yep. And I would say anybody listening who's not part of SHFM, yes, bring your business cards. But I'm telling you, Tony, you will tell me if I'm wrong, and I already know the answer is lead with your personality, lead with who you are. The business always it's a relationship. It really is. It's a relationship and networking group first, I believe. And then.
Yeah. Dick Catani once said from the podium at a conference, it's a professional family. And he was very, very right about that.
Yeah. So any other memories? I'm going to just stay there on the memory train. Anything, maybe even something in the last 10 years that sticks out?
Let me try and think about. I mean, we just had so many good successes and so many positive things that have happened. Conferences. I mean, we had Anthony Bourdain speak at a conference that's truly memorable. Will Guidara was, I think, particularly memorable. Just some of the programming that has happened. And, the things that I think SHFM is particularly good as is dealing with a crisis. We just came out of COVID not all that long ago. And just the way that the industry innovates and adapts is really pretty amazing to watch. And I've seen that happen in, I don't know how many times over the years, whether we got canceled from a hurricane, Katrina in New Orleans 2 weeks before the conference, or whatever it is that happens. I have seen this group just really turn on a dime and really just make things happen. And it's really amazing to watch.
It really is, Tony. You brought up COVID. How the heck did you, as a management group, how did you pivot? Which I know everyone hates the word pivot. Like, how the heck did you do it? I mean, how did you keep us afloat?
Well, that's a really good question. I'm honestly not so sure. When you think about that period, for number one, I thought, oh, this will be 2 weeks. Right. Dumbass I was, frankly. But it was just one day at a time. We started to regroup. We did things virtually. We did a conference virtually. We did, I think, a CIC virtually. And that's just what we did. We just kept things moving. And the supplier community was extremely gracious to us and helped us to move forward. And honestly, SHFM, we maybe lost a little or broke even that first year, which was a miracle.
It really is. And, you could, during those years, the way I remembered it, Tony, it's Coke and Pepsi and Sodexo and Compass and Aramark were all working side by side. It wasn't the arena of business. It was, okay, how do we just elevate our industry? How do we keep this going? It's really special to see. And Rob Gordon was a great leader during that time too, I believe.
Yes, and I know Rob kind of got the short end of the stick being president that year, but he was the right guy in the right seat at the right time. And I don't know if he's on this or not, but he definitely was.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, Shane and Rob Gephardt, Amy Lewis, Bob Kleckner, and Lauren are all on, just giving you love, talking about SHFM.
I'll have my glasses on so I can't see that small.
I'll read for you. I can read it from here, Tony. Yeah. So, talking about the past, now looking into the future, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, is there anything that you're looking forward to, or any trends you're seeing from your seat, having the history you had behind, but anything just looking forward that you're going, this is coming, or I'm excited about, or this is of interest to me?
I think it'll be interesting to see what AI does to the industry. I mean, that is such a fast-moving, evolving technology, and what that does for the industry, and how frankly, what that does for the association management industry, and how we manage associations going forward using that tool. I think that'll be real interesting over the next 5 or 10 years. I don't know where that's going to go, and it's pretty interesting to see what the capabilities. We're just scratching the surface at the moment.
I was at an event and I saw AI create a kitchen just within seconds, and I'm sitting next to consultants. Now, I would still argue you need the human touch and the human eye, like the 100%. Yeah, food service is still about feed. As Gary Crompton said to me at CIC, it's about feeding people and engaging with people, and AI will never engage or feed people. Well, they might be able to physically feed them, but yeah.
It might make our jobs a little bit easier if it's used correctly, and it might allow us to innovate, but you still need the people component. The hospitality world is never going to be an AI driven industry. It's always going to be about people.
Yeah, which is so key. Which we talked before. Is there any announcement that you maybe want to mention to people that I'm well aware of, that people may want to know, Tony?
Sure. We had a board meeting with SHFM this past week at NRA, and one of the things I have been working with the leadership of SHFM is that I am planning to step back from the executive director role at the end of 2027. And so we've been working on a plan to do that, kind of a transition for that. And so what my plan is to work less, a little bit less, but still work into many more years to come, but maybe not work as much as I am working currently. So I've been working on a plan for that. When SHFM, for those that don't know, SHFM left us for about a 4-year period and then came back. And when SHFM came back, they asked me if I would be the executive director for like a year. And I said, yes. So I'm on year 14 of doing that. So I think I've fulfilled that commitment. And so I think it's time for me to kind of ride off into the sunset a little bit. I'll still be waving from, my boat, hopefully. But I will be around, but very excited about what that's going to be. Julie Minnick on our team is going to step into the executive director role, and we'll be having a transition period over the next little bit, starting in October. For the next year, really. And so it's really going to be an exciting period for SHFM. And I think it's time for somebody else to do it and bring something new to the table. Everybody's tired of me at this point.
Oh, it can't be. You're doing it right before my presidency, Tony. Thanks a lot.
I one of the reasons that I kept staying on for 14 years is whoever was coming into the presidency said to me, oh, you have to stay until my presidency's over. And, I finally drew a line. And when I knew Rob Yayak was going to be the president, he said the same thing to me. And I said, okay, you're the last one.
So I missed the cut. That's fair. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Nothing personal there, Davin.
No. So as you made that announcement, how is that sitting with you? Like how are you feeling about that, Tom?
I think I will miss the everyday, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's time for a change. It's time for a change for me. I think it's a time for a change for SHFM. Our company is evolving a little bit, and I do want to spend some more time focused on our company and growing some of the lines of business that we've been working on. So it's really just time. And, I feel pretty good about it. I don't know if I will be sad when that day actually comes. I might be a little sad, but it's the right thing to do.
And it's not like, you're going off to pasture, right, Tony? Like we will see you at events, right, Tony?
I'm still planning to come to the conferences. Okay. So yeah, I couldn't step completely away from SHFM. That would make me very sad.
Although I do see you, like, instead of sitting at a table, you're going to be behind with AV. Like that's your natural place, is making sure AV and everyone's timed out right. Anybody who's ever spoken at SHFM can laugh. Like, don't go over the time limit, or you will get the stare from Tony. Yeah.
We've had a few that have indulged in that over the years.
That's true. And I imagine your least favorite comment is, "Hey, I'm going off script a little bit, Tony," and you're like, "Oh boy, here we go." No, you don't go off script, please. But
it happens, and it's not always a bad thing. So,
yeah. Well, I know I could speak here, Tony, and I mentioned it over the weekend at the show. Like, we are, while technically it is a business partnership, like it's, I can speak for the SHFM community, how we view you and your team truly as our extended family. And there's I would say a blurred line between it. Like, y'all are real special, and that comes from you too as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and we feel the same way. I mean, it is a very, like I said, it's a very unique culture within SHFM, and we feel a part of that, and that's really very special for us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shane just brought up a wonderful idea that I guess during my year, since we already know where it's going to be, you will be our first guest at our dunk tank during my conference for Hunger Games. So that's from Shane Varnum, and you don't want to go against the professor.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane. I appreciate that.
So, Tony, you talked about your other lines of business. You want to talk to me a little bit about Bourbon Classic, which some of us are aware of, some may not be aware of. Like, what is the Bourbon Classic?
Well, Bourbon Classic is a bourbon lifestyle event. We are, of course, located in Louisville, Kentucky, if folks don't know that. But, we are in what I call the Napa Valley of bourbon. And so I would say about 15, 16 years ago, we had an event at our office with our convention bureau staff. And, we were just doing a little mixer with those folks. And they said to us, we're really looking for someone to do a marquee bourbon event. I was like, well, we're looking to do some events. And so, but I don't know anything about bourbon at that point. And so they connected us with my business partners at the time, and are down to just me and one other person who owned the event. And so we've been doing it. This will be our 13th, 14th year coming up. And it really has grown from kind of a small event to something that's pretty big. And it really has become this really marquee bourbon event. Exactly. When you see one of these things in your mind and you are like, things are never quite what you envision when you do this event, it was exactly what I had in my head. And that was really very, very special. And it has just grown from there. Our team has really added so much and so many dimensions to this event. And it's really gotten quite large. And, I couldn't be prouder of it, honestly.
That's amazing, Tony. I remember talking to Jenna Calhoun. I think she's been out to the Classic, and she echoed this. Yeah, I think she won that at the Foundation Gala, and said it was one of the most impactful, meaningful, special events. She had no idea how fabulous it was.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it just gets better and better. And there have been so many people from SHFM who have supported us and have come over the years, and we just really appreciate that.
And Tony, I'm also hearing this theme that just like FSA, had you not taken that jump,
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have the Bourbon Classic if you played it safe, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take calculated risks in business, and that was definitely a calculated risk. It's another one of those things that could have been it could be the greatest thing, or it could have been the worst thing. And, it turned out to be a really great thing.
So along those lines, because now I'm really interested, was there ever a calculated risk that totally didn't work? And I don't want you to name names, or if there's something even outside of what we talked about that you took a calculated risk and it totally just home run to, either or.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a few misses over the years. Nothing that on a really large scale. I think that you really do have to, calculate the risk on that and see what the reward is on the other side, or at least make a good estimate of the reward is on the other side. And so we've been pretty successful, knock on wood here.
Yep.
We've had some setbacks, with client departures and things like that over the years, but sometimes things happen for a reason, or I believe everything happens for a reason, good and bad. So it all works out.
It always does, Tony. And by the way, yes, it does. By the way, and if anyone here, I'm seeing our SHFM contingency, Amy Lewis, Calhoun, Gephardt, Shane, if you all have questions, feel free to ask them for Tony. I absolutely told him I would totally put him on the spot with hard. I would never do that. And you just a couple of years ago are partnering with BootCamp. Is that right?
Yeah, Foodservice Design BootCamp was an event that SHFM members, Charlene Goff and Rod Collins, started. I'm about 11 years ago, I guess now. And of course, Rod has since passed away, and many people will remember Rod. And Charlene was looking to retire, frankly, and wanted to kind of move on from that. And so she called me up one day and she said, "Oh, can you come help me with boot camp?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I can send somebody." She's like, "No, I'd like you to come help me." And I was like, "Why do you want me to come?" And so I said yes, of course, because we don't say no. And I went down there and I kind of figured out what she had in mind. And so ended up buying that from her. This will be our, I think, third year of owning it. And so it's been great. It's within our wheelhouse, and it's within the food service industry and hospitality, and it's part of what we do, and it's been so far really great. Another thing that we took a chance on.
Yeah, I love this theme. And can you describe what actually, I know the answer, but like, what is boot camp? Somebody that has no, like, what the heck is boot camp? Am I exercising? Is it the military?
Not that kind of boot camp, but
Okay.
I'll use Charlene's words to describe that. It is really school. It is school to teach people the ins and outs of commercial kitchen, outlet, restaurant design, that sort of thing. Whether you're designing a coffee shop, restaurant outlet, or back of house space, it really is something that teaches you how to do that well. If you're a food service director that's working, directly for a corporation and you've never been part of that project, it's really something that teaches you the ins and outs of that. It's basically 3 hardcore days of content, that are full days, and it really is like going to school.
And it could probably benefit if you're an operator and wanting to revamp that kitchen, like what to look out for, like the pros and cons, and the way I've experienced it, almost to look at your kitchen globally, not just narrowly. You can actually understand one thing does affect another thing and what to consider.
Yeah, the faculty is not only designers, but also management consultants, 2 SHFM members, Russ Benson, who everybody knows, past president, and Karen Malady, also an SHFM member, are management consultants, and they are part of our faculty. So that's a component of all of that. It's just, it's a really great event. It's a great opportunity for us as a company. And so, it's like one of those things, it's calculated risk.
I love that theme, Tony, because on first onset of you, you don't look like a calculated risk guy. And I'm hearing that that's part of your history, which, kudos to you, Tony.
Yeah, I have to give credit to my board president long ago. His name was Larry Hayes, and he's still around in Louisville. If I ever run across him, I'll have to tell him that story because I give him a lot of credit and he doesn't even know it. So,
which you bring up a really great point. You never know how mentorship can kind of fall into your lap. Did you have a mentor or do you have a mentor today? Or influence for you?
Yeah, I think I do. And he probably doesn't know this. Also another SHFM member, business owner, Tom Newcomb. And so, Tom and I talk, I don't know, a few times a year, talk about business and, similar experiences. Our companies are employee-wise, I think, a similar size. And so, Tom has really been a great mentor to me. And, one of the great things I learned from Tom is just knowing your value. And that is a real important lesson. And so that's something I've learned from Tom. I've never said that to him, and I probably should. But that is definitely something I learned from him.
And can we talk about knowing your value? What does that mean, Tony?
Well, I think it's not only a monetary thing, but it's a component of that, but it's also knowing the value and what you're bringing to the table, knowing that you're bringing something that, will make a difference in an operation or make a difference in an association or whatever it is that you're, pitching or are a part of. And just knowing what that value is super important. I think a lot of people maybe don't have that level of confidence, for lack of better terminology, in what they bring to the table. And that's a real important thing, to know what you bring to the table. And that's a lesson I learned from Tom. How
did you learn that lesson?
Through trial and error. I won't name this client, but we lost a very large client a few years ago. And, Tom helped me understand that it was less about us and more about them. And so that was a valuable lesson for me, because that was the first time that we really had a significant setback in our business. And, it took me a while to kind of make peace with that. And he really kind of talked me off the edge, if you will.
I would venture to guess too, Tony, you learned more during that time than, a perfect event.
Yes. Even though it was a financial setback for our company, it ended up being a better thing for us as a company. And some very positive things came out of that I would have never dreamed of. And, that just, you learn a lot from that. You learn a lot from the things that you fail at. And, that seems like something you hear all the time in these inspirational books, but it really is true.
There's a reason flowers grow in mulch. I'll say that politely.
True enough.
Yeah, they grow in mulch. But Tony, I always, what I love about this podcast is you always get a theme, but that could be seen as the same strawberry milkshake. I think you may have a new nickname, which is going to be strawberry milkshake. But it's really, it's like, okay, this happened. Now what?
Right. And it's how you carry yourself forward from that. And it is about knowing your value. It's not sometimes when you fail at something or you lose something that's a value to your company, it's not about your value as a company or as a person. Is about the situation more than anything else. And that's sometimes, I think, a hard lesson to learn.
Is that because you take it personally, or you have? Yeah.
100%. When we put our hearts and souls in the business, and we really try to know our clients and get to know them, know their business, know them personally, that sort of thing. And so that when you get told no for something like that, that's a hard thing to hear. And so you do kind of take it personally. And I have learned, although I still take things personally, I guess I have learned to be better about that.
Yeah.
So not everything is a personal thing.
Right. And we're in food service where it's like at its core, it's personal because you're feeding people. So and nothing against hedge fund people. Like to me, there's less emotion than a meal or an experience.
Exactly. And again, when you're in the connection business, it is about the connection. And so when that connection doesn't go like you think it should go, it's sometimes kind of a difficult pill to swallow, I guess.
Yeah. Staying on the theme of milkshakes, has there ever been a perfect event for you? Is it ever a perfect event for you?
I think the answer to that is probably not. I mean, you can, and we do this, we plan for contingency things and what if this happens and that sort of thing. But things happen during events that you can't expect. And it again is about how you recover from that. That makes the difference. So has any event ever been perfect? No. I think probably the event that was most perfect in my mind was our first Bourbon Classic. Like I said earlier, it just was exactly what I wanted it to be. And, that was a really, really great feeling that I won't ever forget.
I love that. Think along those lines of the perfection. Are you a writer planner? Are you fly by the seat of your pants? Like, are you hyper organized? Like, I'm interested in what gets you to this point. Like, what is the work you do that nobody sees?
Well, I mean, successful event planning is about the details. So you do have to write it down, document, have a work plan, all of those things. And we have systems here that we use to plan every single event that we do. And everybody in the company uses the same tools to plan the event. So, and this has happened to me where we've had a staff member who's had a medical issue on site at a conference, and I needed to go in and replace them. And I can pick up the book and know what to do because we do it all the same way. And so there are systems that you guys don't see that we use for the events. And it really has been beneficial for us over the years.
Because no matter what, any show, life happens. Like to your point, a medical or like, what do we do now?
Yes. And so those systems help us manage that in those kinds of situations.
I love that, Tony. I was always interested because to me, you're all like ducks, meaning above the water, it's Romero and Colsey and Minnick. They're all smiling, professional, effervescent. And then I just imagine under the water, they're like kicking like crazy, like to make sure everything is moving smoothly.
Yeah, we might be smiling and looking at you, and then when you turn away, we might run in the other direction to take care of something.
That's right.
That does occasionally.
Yes, Jenna Calhoun noticed it. Like, so we are shining a light on you. This is going to be the next 18 months of Tony, just so you know, Tony.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I have the microphone, and all of our friends do, so we're going to continue to pour into you, my friend. But Jenna Calhoun just made a comment that as I'm asking you questions, you keep saying "we," which is a true sign of a servant leader, which you are, Tony.
Well, thank you. And and that's the way I view it. I hope that the culture of our little company here, people feel that. That's important to me.
So, talking about leadership, and because I love her, can you talk a little bit about Peg? This is a lot for people, especially some of the OGs from SHFM, like Peg's influence on you and how her involvement really shaped SHFM.
Peg is the person I have worked with longest in my career. I never worked with anyone longer than Peg. We worked together for 20 something years. She's been gone about 24 years. We worked together, I guess. A little more. And so, when I first came to FSA, I was an experienced event person and, a fairly experienced person, but, coming into a new company and a new environment and the way things are done here, I learned a lot from Peg, especially on the content side. She was really the master. And one of the things that we all talk about it here, she's really was a master facilitator of calls. And so Peg could run, a committee through a call and get the result that we needed. You could always tell if Peg didn't approve of what was the direction. She would very skillfully redirect that. And just the master of that. I don't think there's anyone better at doing that than Peg.
And last name Plout, right? I'm saying it right.
Plout. Mm-hmm.
Plout,
Peg.
yeah.
Plout. Mm-hmm.
Everyone, you should check her out. If you don't know Peg, she's absolutely fantastic. You all have that same face. Now I've been around long enough, and Jenna and Lewis, I now know the tells when you're like, no, we can't have fireworks indoors. But your team is skillful in redirecting some ideas that were like, nope, that's a liability. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. We want to provide the opportunity to innovate and provide change, but also to provide consistency. And I think there's a fine line to walk there. And I hope we do a good job of that.
Yeah, you do. I can speak for our group to say you all do. So you ready for a little pivot here, Tony?
I don't know, maybe.
Should be fine. So every time during the podcast, I do 7 questions. Are you open to me asking you 7 questions, Tony, legally?
Sure, why not?
For the record, are you aware of these questions? Are you familiar with these questions?
No. I knew that you would potentially ask them, but I wasn't told what they were.
Okay, excellent. If you get all 7 right, Tony, there will be a prize, a gift at the end.
Okay, great.
All right. Here we go. Question number 1. Your favorite bourbon?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one. I think off the top of my head, Weller 12.
Weller 12. Great. Writing that down. That is correct. Why? Okay, second question. Why should people get to know Louisville? What makes Louisville special?
Well, obviously the bourbon. I mean, that's probably number 1, but we also have a really vibrant independent restaurant scene here and really, really great food. Interesting.
Having been to Louisville, you're not wrong. I think it's a hidden gem that people should actually experience. It doesn't get as much love as towns in the Mid-Atlantic. I would agree with you there. That second question is right. Good job.
Thank you.
Tony, do you have a favorite author, favorite restaurant tour, or favorite music? It can be really any of those things. Something experiential. Do you have a favorite?
This is going to sound strange. I really like Agatha Christie books, which seems funny. I just think she was a master writer. And, she was really great at making you think it's one person's the killer or another person's the killer and masking who really did it at the end. And I always like that, trying to figure that out, to see if I was right.
I love lifting up this rock and finding Agatha Christie there about you, Tony. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You got that question correct. Describe for the people out there a perfect day for you. What's a perfect day?
Gosh, that's a good question. Coffee on the deck is always a great start to the day. I live out on the water and my deck looks out over the water, and there's nothing more peaceful than having coffee sitting out on my deck, which I love. Maybe wandering over to the marina and taking the boat out, some kind of great food during the course of the day would be a bonus. So nothing too exciting, honestly, just, kind of taking it easy.
Kind of the simple life, like easing into the day and experiencing the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, you got that question correct. Outside of Louisville, some of your favorite cities. You've been around the country, the world for that matter.
I love New York City. There's something about the energy there and the things to do. I love Chicago, having just come from there. Napa Valley is one of my favorite places. There's a lot of really great cities in this country. I have been to every state in the union except for Hawaii, which I'm going to knock off the list next summer, not this summer, but next. So, I've spent a lot of time traveling around our country, and they're just really, really great cities, and they're all kind of unique. But those are some of the favorites.
I love it. You got that question right as well. How's mom?
Mom is good. We'll be 83 in July.
Tony and I laugh as I know our mothers are close enough in age, and I feel like at times we may share the same mother, or at least the same mother energy. We're both eternally grateful for our mothers.
Absolutely.
All right, Tony, you're 6 out of 6. I love this. You're totally crushing it. Any hidden talents that you may have, or something that not a lot of people would know?
I don't know if I have any hidden talents, that's a good question. I'm not very good at relaxing. I will tell you that. That's not necessarily a talent, but I am trying to work on that. I am actually a good room painter. I'm a really good painter of rooms, not of canvases, but of rooms. But other than that, I like to work.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Tony, I'm checking all the boxes. You got a 7 out of 7. You got a perfect score today. Congratulations. You won.
Thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah. We just have a couple more questions. And again, Tony, I just thank you again for this. Is there anything you want to ask me?
That's a really good question. How are you feeling about the potential of becoming president?
Oh, gosh, Tony, that's a great question, too. I remember when I first joined, Frank LaRusso said, talk to this woman, Barb Kane. You got to talk to her, because I'm one of those guys, as you know, like if I'm in, I'm really in. And SHFM was this entity like, oh my gosh, what is this? I want to be part of it. And Barb found me early, became a mentor, and said, do this, this, and this, and you'll do well. I'm so incredibly excited to be president for what I can give to the association, what I can do to better our community. The presidency is what it is. It's being part of something that's already special. So I can't wait. Excited to support Rob on his journey and lean on people to help me on my journey. But I cannot wait at all.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah. All right, Tony, we're wrapping up. Any other last thoughts you have? Any shout outs? Anybody you want to say hello to? The floor is yours.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thank you to you for inviting me to do this. This has been really fun. So I appreciate that. It's fun to watch and follow how this has developed over time. So it's been really great. And I think I would say thank you to SHFM. I mean, this has really been quite the ride, and I've had a great time being a part of that. So it's been very special.
Yeah. Tony, you put the H in SHFM. You really do, Tony. So, yes. All right. I'm going to wrap up, Tony. I want to read a quote, which it's funny. I sent Tony music today, and I saw this quote, and I don't know who wrote it, but I love it. It's overthink the positive. Like if you're going to overthink something, overthink the positive. And the way I've experienced you since I've known you is you overthink the positive and that comes out. So like, I think it's apropos that, you're my guest today. And I wrote this quote before we talked today. So it's perfect.
Well, thank you. I love that.
Yes, me too. So before we go, again, I wanted to thank Vivro for the space and place to have this event this time with Tony. Tony, thank you to you, to your team. You are the best. You're a mensch. You're a good man. You're a kind soul. And I just absolutely appreciate everything about you and everything that you've done for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. All right, Tony, I will see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Uh-huh.